Here is a school in the South Bronx teeming with life. It looks like any other school in the country. But this school has an innovative preschool program that combines therapy with education.
All educators deal with students who have emotional blocks to learning and who can't access the environment that you create for them, this rich learning environment, and there are children sitting there who can't access it because of things going on inside of them.
He was really shy. It was hard for him to make friends. Like, he would only talk to his brother or to his cousins, but he never wanted to let anybody else in.
Shauna was a bit hyperactive and also very impulsive in her behavior, shifting from activity to activity, to the point where sometimes she just go from one activity to the next without thought or anything.
My son was a child who never really opened up, who basically played by himself and was a little subdued. And I understood that because he was an only child.
A 3 or 4-year-old can't express what's happening to them verbally. They can't tell you what is wrong. It has to be in the form of play, which is their normal mode of expression, their normal mode of learning. Sandplay is a perfect method of therapy for this age group. Children can express themselves in the sand by making a picture of their world. Children have emotions that adults are not always aware of. Children can get the idea that they're bad, not lovable. Therapists are trained in knowing about these feelings and how to help them move through the stages of normal growth and development. Wherever you live in the United States, raising children successfully is a challenge today.
I was born and raised in this neighborhood, and we never had the problems that we have now. Believe me, the biggest problem you would have is if someone was smoking a marijuana cigarette. That was it. Nowadays, it's right in the open, the selling of drugs. They have different names for it, different codes. They call out.
Yes, sweetheart, it's your lighter. My name is Harriet Lee. I'm the school crossing guard for St. Luke's School. I've been here since January of 1980 on this particular corner. I have 3 daughters. In December of 1994, I lost a grandson. I have 12 grandchildren. I lost a grandson. He was killed on New Year's Eve, December the 31st. He was shot twice in the back of his head. He was coming downstairs out of a hall, and they ran up behind him and shot him. And as of yet, I don't have no results into what that turned out to be, or did they find anyone or anything, I don't know. But it was really heartbreaking.
Recently, the American public has been made painfully aware of the issue of violence with young children. All of us are asking ourselves the same question: what is going on in our society? What can we do?
The community of St. Luke's asked themselves that very question using a team approach. This unique program blends developmental preschool education, Sandplay therapy, and parent involvement. Experience has shown that early intervention is key to making a difference in the future of these children.
We realized that it was very important to identify social problems that children were having and give them coping mechanisms so that they would be able to make good choices later on in life. Not just about their own education, but just about things that were happening in their life in general. How do you live in a violent environment non-violently? We talked about, should we get Head Start as opposed to start our own pre-K? What would be the advantages of having our own pre-K? And when we looked at how this would take its shape, the thrust was to be on the curriculum, also very strongly on a clinical piece and on a family outreach piece. In doing this, we wanted to reach out to parents, and what we identified as a major lack in the community was parent education. So what we decided to do, which was unique to our program or to any other program that we knew about, was to make it mandatory for the parents to attend a monthly workshop. And those workshops would be information gathering. It also would be a support group for parents.
Now, we have a lady down there we haven't heard from.
Parents are here because they want to help their child. On the surface, it's not always easy to see that a child may be suffering internally. Everyone benefits from the advice of a trained therapist who can evaluate the child's needs.
He's hiding.
Oh, he is going to hide.
In this program, we test and evaluate children who are at risk for emotional problems.
Why is he burying himself?
Because he wants to hide for Scar.
Oh, he's hiding from Scar. That's a good idea.
In Sandplay, the therapist is able to help the child learn how to process worries and stresses so that these don't become stumbling blocks to learning later on.
This method of therapy was developed by Dr. Margaret Lowenfeld in the 1920s. Dr. Lowenfeld was a pediatrician who wanted to work with the emotional issues of children. What she discovered was that by giving children toys, small figures and cars and trucks and other items, children would play out what was going on for them in a Sandplay scene. And Lowenfeld began to realize that the themes that the children talked about could be analyzed and studied. She could understand what was going on for the child at any point in time. This form of therapy is particularly useful for 3- and 4-year-olds. Lowenfeld's idea was that children think in terms of symbols, in terms of images in their mind. Before the acquisition of language, children think in pictures. Usually at this age, 3- to 4-year-olds will have a story that is moving constantly. Things come into the session, they go out of the tray session, they go to the floor, they work on the table. They really just move constantly all around the room. And while they move, they're telling me what is going on in their mind, that the animal is doing this and now he's doing that. You see the dynamic very clearly as they move around the room. So Sandplay offers a form of therapy that is a natural for the child who is already playing in the sand in the classroom and playing in the water tray in the classroom. The Sandplay gives the child an extension of the classroom materials, but with the added advantage of having a therapist, a supportive adult who listens to them, understands their issues, who is there for them on a very different level than a parent could be or a teacher could be.
Looking at the refrigerator.
Oh, they're looking in the refrigerator, and you know what? They're going to find something in there, aren't they? What's in that refrigerator?
This relationship with the therapist is one of the most important aspects of Sandplay.
Someone unfamiliar with an early childhood educational setting, walking into a pre-K room in full swing, might ask, how are they learning? I often get the statements, it looks like they're just playing. It looks like they're just doing whatever they want. And those are very valid statements. They are playing, and they are doing what they want. But I think the problem is with people's expectations about how learning occurs. What educators have come to know about how kids learn, especially young children, is that students have to have experiences which actively engage them with the materials. And in making choices, the children are learning. And in playing, the children are learning. In free play, the children are learning. Play is the big work of early childhood. Play offers children many opportunities for learning. Free play in the classroom allows the children to explore new ideas, to practice making choices, to feel competent and in control, and to take responsibility. Free play puts children in the situation where they interact with others, with each other, with the adults in the classroom. And play is the arena in which children fine-tune new skills. What we like to see is the children using the materials in their own way and at their own developmental level. For example, in painting, they may explore primarily with a physical sense. They may smear paint together on the tray and mix it around, and then some blobs of color may end up on the paper, and they splatter, and they use gross motor, their arm going around and around, and that's the exciting process for them. They're learning a lot about the material, interacting with it this way.
How does play teach a child to learn? Play develops concept skills, spatial relationships, hand-eye coordination, concepts of over, under, through, All of these are precursors to reading. The child develops competency to make materials do what they want.
Here you see Francis, who is piling blocks up and toppling them down, and piling blocks up and toppling them down. Now that you see the same material, and you see developmental range, a personal expressional range. Children can come to these blocks with their own needs.
Children need to learn about themselves, their capacities, talents, lovable qualities, and above all, their essential worthiness. The environment must act like a mirror. It must reflect back a positive self-image.
We create a daily routine in which free play occurs and in which we build important social and learning, pre-reading and pre-mathematical learning occurs, some experiences that will enhance this. For example, the attendance chart, the children learn to read their name. At the beginning of the year, there's a photograph on their name card that they go and put their name in. Now there's all letters, and the children are doing a lot of understanding of the beginning letter of their name. The same thing in the job chart. The job chart, we have picture representations in the words, and the children now can come in and read what their job is, and that's a very powerful thing. We make language in the classroom powerful. If you know what your job is, if you know somebody who's missing, and you can ask for their job, that's very powerful. So we make it that way because we want them to be motivated to learn these things, and they do. They do very quickly because we do it all day long, and children need that kind of structure.
Children in this educational setting develop a sense of confidence and trust in themselves due to the constant positive feedback they receive. They enjoy an enhanced sense of personal value and usefulness and explore new ways of relating to adults and peers.
The other thing that you see happening from this kind of modeling is children then go to free play and repeat what they see, and they're continually practicing this kind of thing. We played a letter game where we all marched around the alphabet, and you saw one of the children, David, then took the letters and spread them out and matched them to go. The shadows went together, and he involved other children, and I came in and worked with him, and letters became exciting because we played a game with them, and he could touch them and move them and change them and decide he liked this one or he didn't want to use that one. We need to be providing a lot of opportunities for them to have multi-sensory experiences, not just this is A. I think a lot of us think about school, the teacher going, this is A, everybody say A. Children learn through a lot of experiences with the materials. Find it over here? Show me. I think what's frustrating for the teacher is in terms of knowing what's going on with the child emotionally and meeting the needs in the classroom, the emotional needs of the class. We have no test, no way to know. The Dial-R, the standard test that I give at the beginning and the end of the year, which measures a lot and has some nonverbal aspects, it doesn't even approach what the therapist can do with her nonverbal testing tools.
Here is a brief outline of some of the problems that can be encountered in preschool-age children.
Separation. Traumatic life events such as death, illness, or divorce may cause fear, making the child unwilling to be left at school or in the care of others. Socialization. Some children have difficulty sharing with others. They are very self-centered about their world, and the demands of the preschool classroom are extreme for them. Some children have intense feelings of low self-worth. They can't cope with someone taking materials away or not getting their needs met instantly. They dissolve into a fit of rage, have a tantrum, rather than being able to deal with the situation in a more mature way. Classroom behaviors. A child who has had little positive feedback or overly harsh discipline may become electively mute or oppositional, refusing to cooperate as a way of maintaining their identity and preserving something of themselves. Sometimes children with attachment problems become withdrawn and refuse to enter into the classroom activities. Sometimes the child is depressed and has little or no energy for interactions with friends or learning experiences. They may keep to themselves or go from activity to activity without completing any one task. These behaviors are symptoms of something wrong within the child, not something wrong with the child. The causes are varied, but the obvious emotional stresses are there.
In deciding which of the students would benefit from therapy, the therapist uses a battery of 3 nonverbal tests. Each child is given the LADS, or Levy-Wheatus Animal Drawing Story Test, in which he or she is asked to draw an animal and answer 34 story questions.
What is your horse doing right now in your picture?
En el cuadro, ¿qué está haciendo el caballo ahora mismo?
Caballo está comiendo comida.
He's eating.
He's eating.
This test gives information on the child's developmental level, their degree of separation or dependency issues, their feelings of aggressiveness, self-worth, ego strength, their concept of themselves in terms of their parents, siblings, peers, and teachers. In short, it gives the therapist a tremendous understanding of how they see themselves and their world. The next 2 tests were developed by Dr. Margaret Lowenfeld. The Kaleidoblock test consists of a box of 26 blocks. The child is asked to make something with the blocks after being shown the mathematical relationships. This test helps to evaluate the child's small motor coordination, 3-dimensional spatial abilities, and concept skills. The Lowenfeld mosaic test is a box of 456 plastic tiles that are arranged in sections of 5 geometric shapes in 6 colors. The child is asked to make a picture with the mosaics and explain what they have made when they are finished.
Most children enjoy the mosaic test because the colors are bright and most of the geometric shapes are familiar to them. They've been talked about in preschool usually already. That is, the squares, the diamonds, and the triangles. I tell them to let me know when they are done, or if I see that the child has finished making their picture, I ask them to tell me what they have made. I also write down my observations of how the child approached the test, what difficulties they may have had, their affect, their quality of attention, their attention span, perhaps the feeling they had in making the picture. Were they proud of it or not? I note the degree of dependency the child might have while making the test. I need help, they may say, or I can't do it. All of this information helps me to understand each individual student's strengths and weaknesses. And the story they tell gives me more content from their imagination, which I analyze later along with all the other tests. In this case, Veronica is showing me that she has made a building, and above the building are diamonds, which she calls walls. Then at the very top in blue, she's made a very interesting structure which she calls a mariposa, a butterfly. All of this helps me understand what's going on in Veronica's mind as she's making her test and mosaic picture. Someone who can't draw, or can't speak English, or doesn't want to talk, can still complete a mosaic or Kaleidoblock test successfully. The story part of the test is really frosting on the cake. It is what the child does with the materials that's important. It's how they relate to them. It's what they make and how they feel about what they've done. That's what we're looking for in both the mosaic and the Kaleidoblock test. The parents that bring their children in here, at first they question us, they worry, they don't understand why we have therapy. It scares them.
They had set up a meeting for me to explain to me everything that was going on. And being a single mother, you're first of all by yourself, you're alone. His father wasn't in the picture. His father, we hadn't heard from him in a while. And to me, I was just like, why are they picking on me? They're being prejudiced because, I'm a low-income single mother who at the time was very young. I had my son at a very young age, so I didn't understand what was going on. To me, everybody was against me. It infuriated me because I said, how could these people tell me that something's wrong with my son? They just want to give him therapy, and I can't do anything about it. I can't fight them. I can't, say anything for my son, and I'm his mother, so I should be able to say something.
So we talk a lot in the beginning of the year about why this is available to them, and I become a resource for these parents, really. And they also understand that nothing that I talk about with their child
or with them or that the teacher talks about will ever go on a permanent record. So not only is this a perfect time to address issues that children have, emotional problems that they have, but it's a perfect time in terms of the school because it doesn't have to go on the record yet. They're really preschool, they're pre-kindergarten. So it works well for everyone. And once the parents understand this, they relax and they begin to really come to us with whatever issues are going on at home. And we have a questionnaire that they fill out, so we learn a lot about them in the very beginning of the year. And then our first parent conference is really we want to get to know you, we want to know your concerns, which we find a lot out from them, of course, and they really open up and they ask for help because sometimes they know that something isn't right and they want that to be known to us, they want help, and we give them all the help that we can.
At St. Luke's, the object of the pre-K program is to help children overcome worries and stresses that can interfere with their happiness and block their ability to learn. Working with the classroom teacher, the trained therapist identifies emotional blocks to learning, and together they create an individualized learning plan for each student.
It's a therapy issue. I mean, it's not a classroom issue. He'll work it out. He'll work it out in the therapy process, but what you're doing is perfect.
While communicating to the parents what is needed to encourage their child to want to learn.
I even noticed that he borrowed a book from the library.
Yeah.
Which he never
I know,
did
these
before.
kinds of, making the transitional objects from school to home now. That's nice.
Yeah.
The story of Matthew Perez, who lost his father to a tragic neighborhood shooting, illustrates how effective the combining of involved parents, supportive teachers, and therapy can be at healing a child who had withdrawn into his own world.
His father died when he was 8 months old, and he was with him every single day. Actually, he would do mostly everything for him. So when his father died, I did, it's funny because everybody told me that he was too small, but I saw a change in my son. I really did. He would cry more. He wouldn't eat as much. And I wouldn't be able to leave him with anybody, not even my mother. When I realized that he was depressed, and we met Mrs. Van Dyk, she really, helped me she helped show me that, he really did need therapy. He needed to show his feelings. He needed to know about his father, and he just needed to talk, I guess, about it to someone else. Because to me, I would ask him, and I would tell him about his father, but I'm not a therapist, so I don't think I was doing. I don't know if I was doing it the right way, but he would shut me out. Actually, instead of talking more about it, he would really shut me out. He really wouldn't talk to me about it. So when he started the program, I started seeing a change, noticing a change, and like I said, that's when he started talking about his father, which that took a load off my mind because, he did have a father, and his father did love him, and I wanted him to know that.
Matthew's depression and withdrawn behavior at school and at home were evidence of his reaction to his loss. His father had been a primary force and real presence in his life. Matthew's silence was a way of protecting himself and his mother from the harsh reality of his dad's murder.
The day my husband died, it was a regular work day for me, so he would watch the kids in the morning and work at night. Actually, that day he had a day off, so he was gonna go hang out with his friends. It was one of his friends' birthdays, so they were gonna play a basketball game. So it's hard for me to talk about sometimes. But it came out during the trial that he was playing a basketball game with 4 or 5 friends. I don't know how many it takes to play basketball. Not a sports fan, but they were there. So these 2 guys are walking by the park. They see them playing, so they come into the basketball court, and they ask them, "Can we play?" So they said that my husband, who they called Ace, that was his nickname, said, "Sure, why not?" So he was dribbling the ball, and he was really tall. He was like 6'2". So for him to dribble, the ball had fallen, so he went to pick it up, and he bent down, And that's when the guy took out the gun and shot him in the head, like 3 times.
Over the next 8 months, Matthew would use familiar animal figures from the movie The Lion King to relive in play form some of his trauma at losing his father. The Lion King, Mufasa, becomes a symbol of his dad. The baby lion, Simba, is a symbol of himself, and the bad lion, Scar, becomes the symbol for the man who murdered his father. Retelling the story in this way gives Matthew a chance to express feelings that have been buried as too painful to deal with.
Did he fall? No?
He's playing around.
He's playing around, so he's hiding kind of thing?
In the Lion King story, Simba and Mufasa are close. Using this, Matthew can relive his own early childhood memories of the good times he had with his father.
They're taking a nap.
Oh, they're going to take a nap together? Okay, that's great.
Also in the Lion King movie, the bad uncle Scar kills Mufasa. Later, Matthew reenacts what he remembers and adds what he has since learned, that some bad man shot his dad.
This is the part when he says the king is dead.
That's when he says the king is dead. All right.
Mufasa. When he says Mufasa,
Mm-hmm.
the king is dead.
Yep, and he lets him go, doesn't he? He falls.
King is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Simba's baby. No!
Uh-oh. Simba's really sad. He just lost his daddy.
He
He
died.
just fell and died. I know. Oh, boy.
After the death of Mufasa, or Matthew's dad, Simba is captured by another character, Dr. Doom. For Matthew, Dr. Doom is a symbol of the loss and depression he felt at his father's death.
Oh, no. Dr. Doom has got Simba. Uh-oh.
For Matthew, this session has been a turning point. Gradually, Matthew has come out of his shell with renewed energy and interest in his classmates and schoolwork. Where before, a terrible trauma produced withdrawal and depression, Matthew can now move forward with his life, having finally dealt with his grief.
He plays with kids now. He's more outgoing. He's not scared to speak up and say, you know, what he feels. A happy child, I guess. Yeah, he is. He's more happier than he was. He's not as tense. He used to be so tense, I remember. Like, really, it had to be one way, you know. But now, yeah, he's more looser, he's outgoing. I think it's more happier at home, actually. Because he's happier, so I've loosened up. It's made my other son happier. So we're all doing better because of the program.
Many children come to school troubled, frightened, and preoccupied. Because of this, they are unable to learn. A trained therapist gives the child a safe, one-on-one relationship outside of their family, where they can explore and relieve their anxieties.
You think that you know automatically how to speak to your child, but you don't. It's a lot of patience with them, and that's a whole bunch of things that you have to learn, that this particular program helps you. You know, they take their time to help you, to teach you how to not get stressed out, how to attack every different situation in a different way. It lets other parents speak to other people and let them know that although you're scared right now, because that's basically what the frustration was, and the anxiety was a lot of anger and worry that you didn't know what was going on, you'll get over that. That's just being scared, and you just have to focus on the fact that this is your child and this is something that needs to be addressed, not later, but now, because this is where they start learning from this age. It's better to attack it now.
Now, you remember how we played with the Sandplay? All right, everybody had a toy and each person had a turn and they told their story. So we're going to do the same thing with the puppets, all right?
Teachers need the therapist's help in finding and communicating what the child needs to learn.
Having a therapist on board, it changes everything, because you feel like there's some of that inner life that is disturbing what goes on in the classroom. Sometimes they bring in real behavior problems that accompany this, real issues that they're getting dealt with. And I've seen this. I've seen the success. I've seen children who, I believe if they didn't have the therapy in our program, they would still be dealing with these emotional blocks in kindergarten and first grade, and these things would still be blocking their ability to learn in the educational settings.
The therapy definitely helped her emotional growth, because I think she wasn't afraid if she said something wrong because it wasn't her mother. So she was able to talk freely to someone who apparently she trusted. And I think she got a lot out of that, and that was very helpful for me. So a lot of my reservations pretty much flew out the window after a while. I was very pleased with what was going on.
Developmental education and Sandplay is a unique blend of resources that serves both the family and the school in a more comprehensive and caring way.
It has been a wonderful experience. I have been very impressed when I go into the pre-K and I see that the children are resolving conflict nonviolently, that they're able to make choices and good choices. I'm also very happy that our parents form a bond, they form a community, and they bring that spirit and that bond as they go from class to class, so that it infects the other parents who haven't been a part of the pre-K. So in that way, the pre-K program impacts on the total school picture.
The main thing that I think our program is unique in offering is that we have a very solid academic and therapeutic program here. The techniques and tools that we use have been developed over years of experience, and we bring our experience to this program, which I think makes it very special. It's obvious to us that we're able to make a difference in the lives of these children, and I feel that we should be able to reproduce this as a model in every school in the country. It's not that hard to do. It just takes understanding what a 3 to 5 year old needs in terms of therapy, in terms of education, and putting it together. To me, it's like the concept of the kindergarten, you know, the garden for children. This is a place where children really grow, they learn, and they develop. And I'd like to see this program all over the country, in every school, as a real model for therapy and education.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3.